Welcome to the ISB show. I'm your host Sahil here with Ishana covering the CONCACAF Nations League. And Ishana, you've been to a lot of CONCACAF Nations Leagues before this one, where you spent the day at SoFi. I did as well over there, and it didn't turn out the way that we predicted. It didn't turn out the way that U.S. men's national team fans predicted. We'll get into all that in this video. For those of you enjoying these videos, please subscribe to the channel. Shana, let's start with the U.S.-Panama game because that game happened first. And the first complaint was that there was no one there.
Yes, that was the first complaint. However, I want to say that I think look, we can circle back to it, but yes, there were not that many people there, but I think this is part of a larger issue that I want to address.
Okay, we'll get to that later. So, all right, we have lost now to this team so many times. I shouldn't say we. I should say, this is an unbiased program. The U.S. men's national team has lost to the Panamanian national team. It seems in almost every tournament. They eliminated the U.S. men's national team from the Copa America last summer, and they have eliminated them, not eliminated, I should say, but prevented them from reaching the final again. And it was in a heartbreaking fashion this time.
I mean, was it heartbreaking though? I mean, it wasn't like we really were ever playing in that game, except for maybe starting at the 80th minute where there was some urgency. There was, heartbreaking. I don't know. Were we asleep? Did we not attend the game? Maybe.
Yeah, I don't understand why. I shouldn't say I don't understand. I think we understand why we struggle with this team. Panama sets up kind of like a low block, but it's kind of a pressing that it's almost like a mid-press situation where, as soon as the U.S. men's national team players get to a certain point, there's hard pressing at that point in time. And I would say, look, if it was a one-off match and this happened to us, I'd give credit to Panama, which is very important to do. But we've seen the same story over and over again. And that is the frustrating part, that our team is not being able to figure this out.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot to break down. First of all, I do want to say I do think we tend to play better against better teams. We rise to the challenge, and there's kind of that sweet spot in an athlete when you're challenged, but you don't feel like you're completely out of your depth. And I think that's where we really shine. But this all being said, I completely agree. I mean, this is a system that clearly is not working, and I think it's an amalgamation of a lot of things. And what I would like to talk about is just breaking down why exactly this is happening, because this is not the same US teams that we've had previously. We have players who are starting at huge clubs, who are pivotal to their team success. And this goes not just for, the American national team, but for other CONCACAF teams as well. Canada, Davies, some similar problems there. But it's just so interesting because by all intents and purposes, if you look at the quality of our players and if you look at their stats, we should have a great team, a better team than previous U.S. men's national teams. However, previous U.S. men's national teams really punched above their weight. They really overperformed in major tournaments, and that, I think, is, again, an amalgamation of a lot of things. But I think it's also the fact that we came into these tournaments as underdogs, recognizing those stakes and understanding that these are the stages, that this is the only chance we're going to get. There was a level of gravitas to it.
Yeah. We'll get into the Mexico-Canada game next, and we want to cover that as well. So for those interested in that game, just stay tuned. We'll cover it. But finishing the thoughts on this particular match. Okay, let's start in the back, right? From a goalkeeping perspective. On the last goal, which which Panama scored, right? As soon as they put up 5 minutes injury time, I was worried in the stadium. I was saying, "Oh my goodness, like they're gonna." I was more worried that they were gonna score versus us, despite the fact that Panama didn't have a shot, basically, or like very few shots on goal up to that point in time. And then, now that it's come out, some goalkeepers have looked at that last goal and they're saying, that was clearly Matt Turner's fault.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. This was always the story when I was growing up about the U.S. men's team, I should specify. that, yeah, we're okay, but we always have strong keepers. That's what our dad used to always tell us growing up,
Yep.
that US creates great keepers. We had keepers playing abroad in Europe. This was always something that I think we underestimated. And look, I love Matt Turner. I think his story is so amazing, having not grown up playing soccer and then picked up the sport, walked onto his college team. It's amazing. And I think he played great in the World Cup. However, I think that he has just lost his touch. And it's unfortunate and it happens with athletes, but he's miss kicking. He doesn't have confidence back there. It really just does start from back there. And one thing I want to point out, for me personally, I feel like when there's not a clear hierarchy of goalkeepers in terms of, your starting keeper, your second string, your third string, and you play into this maybe like Allison versus Ederson game where it's not a slam dunk, I think that's when you get into issues. And for example, like Tim Howard before obviously the when he maybe should have retired a little earlier, but before
Yeah.
that,
Before
he was
the
always
Trinidad match. Yes, I know what you're saying.
exactly.
Yeah.
There was no question. It was
Yeah.
gonna be Tim Howard. With the women, same thing. Alyssa Nair, she has been that stalwart. She has been just that sense of security. And the women are having kind of a similar issue where, you have players like Zach Steffen who are maybe on the cusp, maybe, anytime you have that juggling situation, I just think it creates a lot of insecurity. And I think his time is up, personally.
Yeah, I don't know. Look, I don't know if Patrick Schulte gets a start, but um, on that last goal, it wasn't only Matt Turner's fault. There was a bunch of players, notably Christian Pulisic, with a ridiculous. I don't know. I don't even call it a decision why that ball ends up going where it did when he did it, and then you have players ball watching, players not attacking Panamanian players. There was no on that last move. You saw all of the problems that happened in the match. They almost all happened in that one move that led it to the Panamanian goal. And some of the main things we were talking about where is that fight? Where is that desire? I mean, Ishana, you watch Juventus and Milan every week. You watch these teams every week, and you're highly clued into the Serie A. So you see these players week in, week out, and then they come out here, and then you're looking at this and the mentality and the fight that is happening that the Panamanian players had. I just don't see that on the US.
Yeah, again, I think this is because of a lot of things. First of all, I do want to say, missing players like Balogun and Anthony Robinson, even Dest, he's been gone for a while. Like this does, obviously, I think these people are more important than maybe we even talk about. However, it is strange, okay? Like it almost feels like it's a combination. First of all, the Nations League happens at a very strange time. And, I almost feel like the MLS players have a bit of an advantage in that sense. Like, these other players are coming off playing these long leagues. They're going to go back, play the Champions League. Like it's a stressful time for them to kind of suddenly jump ship. However, I also feel like in a way, I don't know, like maybe, I mean, you look like at a team like Mexico, the majority of these players are, playing in the Mexican league and they have almost this chemistry of, I don't know, playing together on North American soil or coming in as underdogs. And
Yeah.
there's something missing. And it's interesting because Pulisic does not play he's great for Milan at scoring weird angles and, playing on the wings, taking it down the flank. And we don't really see him doing that much. He's very sleepy when he plays for the US national team. And additionally, McKennie, what's interesting about him is he played sort of similarly to the way he plays at Juve, which is very kind of like casual on the ball, calm, and he plays great. But for some reason, that energy does not translate here. Like playing horizontally does not translate here. What they started off matching Panama's slow pace. and almost it didn't work. I mean, there was no sense of urgency, and I almost feel like it's confusing. It's like all these different styles of play mixing, and it's not quite mixing right. There's no
Yeah.
chemistry,
They
and you know,
struggle, yeah. Go ahead.
you'd also think like the whole, the Weah and McKinney combo, the Musa Pulley combo, it's not there for some reason, and it does kind of honestly make me question. Like, I don't know if playing in Europe, it's making them overthink, and maybe these MLS players are hungrier, like players like Luna who really want to develop. Ajay up there, like I don't know.
Yeah, it was a strange strategy because it was basically just like cycling the ball around and trying to like break down a block by like cycling the ball around, and it wasn't working. And they literally did that the whole match. And you're just thinking like, what is going on here? But one thing you did mention is it's that mentality. And I want to get into the Mexico game now for a second because that was prime display of like what that fierce fight was going on, and it started from minute one for Mexico, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I gave the US, I was like, okay, we're gonna give them 15 minutes to be sleepy, and then they got to pick it up. And Mexico, the second they got there, again, they're if we want to talk about crowd, the crowd, of course, they have a phenomenal crowd. I mean, it was like a sea of green, but to that point as well, I do think that the US, they don't like Mexico they have like an aura to their team, you
Yeah.
know who their fans are, you know how they play. And I feel like the US just kind of assume that that's already established, and it's really not. I mean, we have new leadership, okay? We have the sport is still growing here, and I almost feel like I love how maybe people think that the way the women market their team is overkill, where they really kind of like, this is who they are, like get to know them personally. But I really think that doing a bit of that investment off the field for the US men's national team will generate this fandom, will generate a larger crowd. I mean, I don't think anyone even knew this was happening, honestly. And Mexico, they love playing for their fans, and they love putting on that jersey. They rise to the occasion, and I thought both Jimenez's played well. But it was just I mean, that was a golazo too.
Yeah, I mean, so that's the thing. Like Raul Jimenez, yeah, sure, he's been playing well this season, but this is basically he's taking it to the next level for Mexico. The way he played, and that's what we want to see from the U.S. players, 100%. Like take it to the next level. That's what Raul Jimenez did. When you need him for that golazo, he's there to score that golazo. When you need him to take the reins of the game in the first minute, he's there. And that's that was that.
Well, so like I want to bring up Canada for a second,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So
I was gonna say I think we have a lot of Canadian viewers out there, and they all thought they told us in the comments that Canada would win this match, and understandably, look, like we have a lot of respect for the Canadian team, and we actually like the Canadian team very well. We've hung out with a lot of the players and stuff, and we like the team a lot. Something about this match, I didn't feel like they were going to be able to get this done, and it's from some of the same things that actually played out. But go ahead, what were you going to say?
well, first of all, I was going to say Mexico played well. Like, I really have to give it to them. I thought they played well defensively as well. And, they capitalized on their chances, great set piece, for example. But Canada, they play with a lot of heart. They are a little bit risky, messy, wild. It's super fun to watch, very exciting. But I do feel like they need to pare it down a little bit. This being said, I would much rather go out losing the way Canada did than lose the way that we did.
Yeah.
We meaning the US men's team. I mean, it was a much more exciting game, and they did get unlucky. I mean, they did hit the woodwork a couple times, and towards the end, yeah, we saw Davies, maybe he did his little Davies thing when he's playing for Canada where he tries to take on like 15 guys on his own and
Yeah,
sort of,
yeah.
but it was the fancy footwork. I mean, they looked like they were playing with some authority, and with some confidence. And one of my favorite parts of that game was when Jesse Marsh, they're about to take the corner and he holds up that X, and then they do this like kind of scissor like play. It was fun. It was exciting. It was goofy. Like, I don't know. It's stuff like that where if they clean it up a little bit, I really think that they're just kind of missing getting the W at this point, you know?
Yeah.
They have all the ingredients, but they need to just make it work a little bit. But I feel like that adjustment is not as big of an adjustment as the US men need to make in order to achieve success.
100%. I think it's just like you said, just cleaning up some things here and there, but that intensity's there. You saw the Canadians, you saw Cornelius going in, putting his body on the line. You saw all the players putting on the line. You saw the same thing in Mexico, right? The players are putting their body on the line, and a lot of Canadian players, a lot of them are in fancy clubs in Europe and stuff like that. But that didn't matter here. You saw them; they're fighting. They're trying to fight to get it done. Mexico, a lot of the players don't share the clout in terms of the clubs, but they're fighting to get it done, right? And so I thought the second match, as we saw, we were there for both of the matches, obviously. The second match was much more enjoyable of a match than the first match of the U.S. just cycling the ball around, right? And that's kind of how it went.
Yeah, and like, the one thing I'm kind of left, I think, leaving this whole or leaving where we are in the tournament is I think everybody wants to talk about Pochettino, right? Like, have we seen him make positive changes? Are we just seeing a recycled bear halter system that's clearly not working? Where are we at?
Yeah. All right. So I think we'll end there. The semis are in the books. For all you U.S. men's national team fans, your Canadian men's national team fans, they'll play in the third place match. We'll have a whole recap after the tournament is done to talk much more about that and then see what happens with that. And in the final, Mexico and Panama. Let's see who wins that match. Could be either of those, but we shall see. And I think we'll end there. Ishana, real quick, who do you think is winning the final on Sunday?
I think it's going to Mexico. It's going to Mexico. I do want to say one thing, though. Just want to slip in one little fact. I still don't think we have really seen what Pochettino can do. I think this is only the beginning, and I really think we should not judge him until the Gold Cup, when we're a little further along, when it's not during, a weird time. And hopefully we can get third place.
All right. So for all of you out there, keep watching the beautiful game and keep watching the CONCACAF Nations League. See y'all soon.